Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. My name is Zach. Thank you guys for tuning in. As you can see, we're in the hangar on this episode. That's because we're right outside of Phoenix, Arizona, in Mesa, that's where we are.
Yeah.
So we're in Mesa. We just opened a new flight school location here on Falcon Field Airport. So this is kind of a special episode, different scenery, different sound if you're a listener. I think that what's exciting about this episode is we're talking to Captain Philip Stromer. Actually, you're retired now, so maybe you can tell us a little bit.
I'm very retired.
Exactly, very retired. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself for those who haven't got to meet you yet.
Yeah.
And then we'll get going.
Okay, I've been retired since October. Since my last podcast, I got a new hairdo. I have a lot of extra time now to do things like that, and the creativity is just effusing.
Yeah? What does that feel like, the creativity side? I know that you like to be creative from some of our conversations. Yeah. You have a little more free time on your hands?
I do.
Is that what's going on?
I have free time to where I can read a novel or read things that I used to think was a waste of time because I always had to stay in aviation. And now I can read about philosophy or history or whatever else. It's really nice. It's useless.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe
it's not. Yes.
Maybe after reading a couple more books, it'll
Yeah.
make you feel different, and you'll learn that maybe it helps your marriage or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or I'll use the paper for starting fires. I don't know.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah. Very practical at that point.
Yeah.
So you're living a whole new lifestyle. I'm sure that's something we'll get into.
Yeah.
If people haven't met you before, you have a lot of insight on what it's like to work in the airlines, which I think we don't get to talk to enough people about regularly.
Right.
But one question I want to ask you, just to get to know you a little more, is what is one thing you would want people to know about you that would make you feel kind of understood?
They need to know that I'm not threatening and that I'm in their corner and I'm their biggest fan. And I think that's really important as a pilot because you work with a lot of people. When they're not threatened by you, and I know that they're not threatened by me, then the whole personality will change. And my delivery will change.
What is it about, like, what do you kind of do? How do you see people's personality change based on you being a non-threatening presence?
Well, I think in aviation it's very didactic.
Okay.
It's very didactic. It's this way or that way. Now there's no gray there, right? But what happens when there's no gray is that you lose the human element of flying. And so when somebody can bring on the human element of flying and integrate it with the didacticism of aviation, you're going to get more out of that pilot.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and you need to work on bringing that out. And a lot of pilots don't. Because they're that way, and that's fine. We need them, but we also need people like us.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's part of what I like to do here. Obviously, we've talked about that a little bit. I really like making people feel not just comfortable, but encouraged to kind of open up a little bit.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, no one wants to watch a podcast where someone has a rehearsed speech or anything like that. So, I like these really genuine conversations, and maybe that's why we go some cool places.
We get along great. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you for joining us out here in Arizona.
Pleasure.
It's not too hot today, not yet anyways.
Nice.
We got a little breeze coming in. I want to ask you a little bit about when you started flight training. Was that something that was difficult for you to wrap your brain around, or did you kind of have your head in aviation already?
A little bit in aviation from being a kid, but actually learning to fly, it was different, and it was a lot to take in. And you had moments of clarity, and then you had moments of like being in a snow globe.
Right.
It's all clear, everything's settled, and then somebody shakes the snow globe, and everything's foggy and snowy again.
Yeah.
And whatever you thought you knew, you don't know anymore, and you got to keep going. And so it's hard to stay motivated because it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
I just knew this, and now I can't land anymore. So
yeah, I could understand that.
It's a lot of that.
Some of the CFIs had described it as when they first started flight training, that's kind of like a water hose.
Yeah.
But especially for people who maybe knew a little less about aviation before they started.
Yes.
So I like that analogy of the snow globe, though. I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone when they're in the midst of that, storm of the snow globe, everything's settling, they're drinking from the water hose?
You need to ignore it.
Yeah.
And you need to know and have faith in yourself. Like there's an instructor here at Thrust at Addison. He says to his students, I want you to believe in you the way I believe in you. You have to learn to believe in yourself that you will overcome, and you'll stick to it. And the only way you're going to overcome is to stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that is like maybe the common denominator between the people who make it all the way through training and to where they want to be in their
I
career?
do. I
Yeah.
do. Many different personality types, but
Hmm.
they all have that in common.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so if you've already made that decision, then you stick with it and you trust your instructors.
exactly.
I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So later you're going to be talking with our new students. So for those listening, for our viewers, since we are out here at our location, this is our first day opening up the program to students in Arizona. We call it Thrust Day. So you'll be speaking to
Cool.
our students on their first day. That being said, I got to look over your speech a little bit, and you talk a little bit about the highs and lows of training, maybe.
Yeah.
And you say things like, I want to ask you if you could share a story about maybe one of your worst days in training, and if there's something you learned from it, because everyone goes through a really difficult point at some point.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's probably back when I was working on my CFI.
Hmm.
And by the time you get to the CFI level, your landings are usually pretty good,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so they're secondary nature now.
Yeah.
But you're so ingrained in thinking what you had to do up there in terms of maneuvers, and now you're sitting in the right seat,
Hmm.
right? And you're learning how to teach.
Right.
I couldn't land from the right seat to save my soul,
Oh my God.
and it was really frustrating. But that was taking me backwards. So after every lesson, after every CFI lesson,
Hmm.
that landing stuck in my mind. It's like, man, I can't even get this right. How am I going to get that right?
Uh-huh.
And so that was
One of those
it
moments.
hung in my head. It's
Mhm.
like being a race car driver and you mess a corner up. Well, you can't keep thinking about that corner.
Hmm.
You have to go to the next corner. It's
Mhm.
like turn the page. And I was
Mm.
really having a hard time doing that. But
Do you feel like once you focused your brain on just continuing the motion and continuing flying and not getting hung up on that one thing, do you feel like that allowed you to get better at it?
I do. And
Yeah.
what I learned from that experience was that, landings are important, but they're not that important. They're not. There's other things that are a lot more important than a smooth landing.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
because you wanted to get it really smooth the way
Because
you
I
had it
wanted
in the
to
left
impress
seat.
the instructor who was teaching me to be an instructor.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, what must be going through his mind? Like, did we choose the wrong guy to instruct?
Yeah.
So, but what that made me realize was that there's a lot more that goes into flying than a smooth landing. That does not make you a good pilot because you can land smoothly.
Okay.
That's what I had to learn.
Yeah, and I'm sure it gets better over time. You let time do its thing.
Yeah.
I like what you said there. You wanted to impress the instructor. Do you think that played a role in your performance in that moment?
I do. I
Yeah.
think being accountable to something or somebody is really important. And I
Okay.
think we all have that in common as
Uh-huh.
pilots. We want to be accountable to ATC. We want to be accountable to passengers. We want to be accountable to our crew members.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
want to be accountable to the airplane.
Yeah.
So we're very compliant. Some act compliant and some don't. But the core root of pilots is compliance.
I like how you're aligning that. I like how you're taking that because some people could look at that differently. I guess what I want to say is you mentioned impressing your instructor as a way of being accountable. I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
But some people can say that wanting to impress someone would get in the way of learning, maybe. Do you see that
I
dichotomy
don't think
there?
so. I mean, for me
Okay.
personally, no. I think
Okay.
it pushed me.
Okay, that's
Right.
good. So
Yeah,
you get your motivation where you get it from. I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, because I'm that way. I want to impress people, but not just so they like me necessarily, but it's because I want to be good at what I'm doing.
Right.
And I could relate to that.
Right.
Okay.
And word gets out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, hey, he's good.
Yeah.
Or he's not.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you? And I want to take that a step further. Then, have you worked with people in your career that are really good at making people, impressing people, even if they're maybe not that diligent in their career or in their skills?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And they're they have to get through check rides and they have to,
Okay.
reach the bar, and they do, and sometimes maybe, but
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And more of their character comes out being a character than like being, a very compliant by the book pilot, but they're fine too.
Okay. I like that. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah,
they're
then-
not heart surgeons, but they're, they can set a broken bone.
Exactly. I see what you're saying. They can get the job done and safely within compliance.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, I think you kind of mentioned, you mentioned that difficulty part. What's one of the most memorable moments for you in flying? And I might have asked this before, but I like to ask it anyways because I think it adds a lot to the conversation. So maybe it's in training, maybe it's in your career, but is there a moment that's like, wow, I love this job. I love what I do. I love where I work. Is there any moments that were just memorable that way?
Just so many I can't recount.
Yeah.
But it's that feeling of this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually has to do with the crew.
Okay.
Where the crew just clicks
Mm-hmm.
with either fun-loving jokes
Mm-hmm.
or you can read each other's minds after 3 or 4 days. And that feeling I'll never be able to repeat again because I'm retired. I'll never be with crews again like that. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then on the flying side, there's, you know, landing in some really tough conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Safe, right? We made sure everything was safe. We had the runway linked and all of that stuff. But a good blowing snowstorm.
Yeah.
You know, that you had to reach inside and really do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And you realize you're the man for the job.
Yeah, and you know the airplane's coming in like this, and the snow is blowing sideways, and you touch down, you straighten the airplane out, and you bring the thrust levers out, and you put the brakes on, you know, and you finally come to a stop, and you exit off the taxi off the runway and don't slide, you know, and you take that all the way to the gate. I mean that's quite a feat.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, this is really a cool job.
Yeah, you get to walk off the plane with a win and under your belt, and when something like that happens.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to a friend recently. We were talking about how there's really no other feeling like having the perfect solution to a problem.
Right.
Like the perfect solution
Solvers.
to a problem. Yeah, it's like a puzzle piece. The satisfaction of putting a puzzle piece in.
Right.
And I think in a moment like that, when you're the person flying and you have the skills that it's going to take to get everyone down safely.
Right.
I can imagine that feeling.
I do think pilots are they're pattern seekers.
Okay.
Because they want to solve.
Yes.
So they want to find that. They want to find a pattern. And if there's a problem in establishing that pattern, I got the piece.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's been one of my favorite things about doing this podcast and talking to many of the CFIs and pilots. I realized that there's like a through line. There's a common thread that is, maybe it's the problem solving. It's the creative thinking that actually goes into something that, like you said, is almost so rigid in a way because it's so standardized. It's very regulated as it should be. But even within that, there's so much nuanced thinking necessary. Right. Anyways, I say that to say I could recognize that they love to get their gears going. Right. They don't want to just clock in, clock out.
You know, think about sports. So a football player, there's very rigid ways to do a certain drill or a certain technique. Right. Right. And a coach could just bark at that player to do this, do this, do this, do that. But without relating to the player, do you think you're really going to get the best out of that player? No. So a good coach is somebody that can bring that out, just like a good pilot, good captain, good crew member can bring that out in people.
What about the player in that situation? What do they do in a moment where they feel like they're being coached at a lot? And what do they do if they feel like they're on the barking end of the...
Like, leave me alone and let me...
Yeah. Is that a mentality thing?
That's part of being accountable to people. So you kind of got to just take that.
That's another thing I've really learned about.
That's called the FAA, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, takes a little humility at the end of the day. That's another thing I do like about pilots. There's a lot of humility necessary because, I mean, you're flying planes.
And you're critiqued all the time. You are criticized all the time. I have never had a perfect flight where I didn't mess something up. And it could just be a little switch position. It could be the seatbelt sign. I forgot to ding that at 10,000. It was 11,000. Right. Was it perfect? Does it really matter? No. But I've never had a perfect flight. Okay.
Can I ask you this question? And, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but how old were you when you started flying?
When I started?
Yes.
I was 20. Aside from being the kid and going down and
right, when you're getting behind the yoke and you're having to land a plane.
Well, I did that at 15.
So, you did that at 15 too.
But then I quit for years and years and years.
Okay, yeah. When you really dove in, then
guy. When I really dove in, I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason
I had some brain development. So the kids who get in at 18, 17, 18, 19, it is tough because, you know, the developmental part of the brain isn't even developed yet. And so my hat goes off to those kids because me at 18, 19, you know, so.
I mean, I was hungry, I was driven.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I was a bit humble, but I don't know if I was. I don't know if I took coaching the way I needed to when I was younger.
No, it's
I take it
hard.
better now.
Right, because we're defensive teenagers.
I was.
Because that's our way of getting our freedom.
You
Right?
kind of had to claim it,
But yeah, you have to take on criticism, and you have to thank the person criticizing you for criticizing. It's like, thanks, I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Instead of taking it personally, take it to evolve and become better. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I bring that up in the speech too.
Okay, and I look forward to hearing about it because I think that's definitely a mindset. When you come into this, there's not a lot of room for pride, I don't feel.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe pride in what you do, but not in terms of over other people.
I think the way of showing pride is being humble. That's
ironically.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Kind of an oxymoron.
What do you think that kind of looks like, if you don't mind? Do you think we could go a little deeper on that? Because
I don't think you walk around and tell people you're a pilot. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or purposely try to act like a pilot, or purposely try to bring up things that allow people to know that you're a pilot. I think if it comes up, and you talk about it, but you're just part of the crowd.
I gotcha. It's not tied to your identity.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when something is tied to your identity, it makes it a lot more fragile.
Right.
You kind of like have to protect it, and you don't want to protect something like that. You need to be able to learn. So.
Right, because you know you have it until you retire, and then your identity's gone, and then you wonder, ooh, am I going back on what I said? Who am I?
So
that takes a while.
I want to ask you a little bit about that, and we went into the athlete a little bit thing, and maybe we'll revisit that. But while we're here, we were talking earlier. And you retired. How long have you been retired now?
Since October.
October, okay. And you kind of explored what you might do next.
Yeah.
Have you gotten a job or two or 3 or 4? What's going on?
Yeah,
there?
That's what happened. I got a job 2 or 3 or 4, and I quit every job 2 or 3 and 4 I got.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't want it, but I thought I had to have it. And what I realized is that a part of me as a pilot doesn't want to do certain things anymore. A part of me wants to be home at night. A part of me doesn't want to travel the way I used to travel. I didn't want to see a roller bag or go into an airport, but of course I have to go on vacation. But I didn't know those things were had exited my soul.
Right.
So the jobs that I got, the flying jobs that I got, that were very hard to get, that a lot of retirees go for, I started and quit because I wasn't excited, as we talked about it before. And I finally found something I'm very excited about, and I found home.
Okay.
So, but that took October to August. What is that? 8 months or whatever?
Yeah. And it's kind of a strange amount of time to spend not knowing a lot about yourself.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
And retirement has 4 stages. The first stage is vacation. Woo! I can sleep in. The second stage is, what the hell am I going to do? The third stage is you go try stuff and you don't like it. And the 4th stage is finding home.
Okay.
So I jumped into the 4th stage really quickly.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed for that.
That's nice. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a lot to do in 8 months.
It was very weird. Very wonky.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been dealing with that ever since I got a job where I had to kind of be in office 9 to 5, not freelance as much. I had to learn like, okay, who am I? Like, what do I do? And I had to let go of some work that I liked or that I thought I liked to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was over it. And I let it go, and I've been a lot more at peace lately.
Good.
So I can, maybe it's something
you
like
like your job. It's really obvious.
And I got a new haircut too, so maybe getting a new haircut is a sign that you got somewhere.
Go to the same place?
Maybe we did. Juan? I go to Juan. No, but I wanted to ask you, since we've talked a little bit about the beginning of your journey, there's a lot of in between here, but you're going to talk a little bit about the beginning and a little bit about your retiring. Can you kind of give a big picture, like image of what it kind of looked like for you? Were there some, milestones that you could kind of rattle off towards this? Like, hey, I remember what it was like here. I remember what it was like then, and then I decided to retire. And then, is there anything like that you could give us? Because there's people who are getting into aviation now, and like you said, they might be 18, they might be 24,
right?
But I mean, it's a lot in front of them.
Right.
Looking at it some of it behind you, is there any insight you could give?
About starting aviation?
I guess what could someone expect the years of working in the airlines to be like? Because I'm sure after a while, you've been doing it for a while.
Oh, okay.
And you might go through some stages of like, this is exciting, and now it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
Sometimes you have to talk to me like I'm 2.
No, it's fine. That's usually how we're going to get the best answer anyway, so it's fine.
At first, you're really crazy about your job. You're so happy, I was so excited about my first airline job, and I say this in the speech, but I'm sitting in the new hire class, and I'm sure any moment someone from HR is going to bust through the door and say, "Hey, Philip, sorry, dude, we made a mistake. We found something in the background check, whatever. Come with us." Right? So that's how much I love sitting in class, getting ready for 2 weeks of NDOC. I was that excited.
Yeah.
And you know, and then you get on the line, and then you do your IOE, which is your initial operating experience, and you're excited about that. You're trying to impress the check airmen and all that, and you finally get signed off, and you're excited for about 2 years, and then you just find things to complain about, and then you go into these dark valleys of darkness. You know, it's like, this place sucks, whatever. You know,
because you get to that point with any job
because you take it for granted. You're used to privileged access. You're used to being able to travel whenever you want on the jump seat. You're used to this, and that 98% of the population could never dream of, but you're used to it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you go into that deep, dark hole, but you know you've got 20 years left, and you know you can't live like that because you want to be healthy, you know, mind, body, and spirit. And then you come around. And then it's like, this is a great job. And then you get back on the peaks, and you're up there for a while, and it's great. And then something happens, and then now you're mad again. This is typical human oscillation in terms of.
That makes sense to me, and that's why I asked, because
but that's why you have to love flying, because if you get in that deep, dark valley, you're not coming back.
If you don't have a strong motive, a strong why. Right. And you have to. For you though, I remember you talking about this in the first episode. You found an anchor in people. It kind of seemed like.
I did.
Yeah, because you're gonna see that cockpit a lot. You're gonna
live
at. Yeah, exactly. You're gonna live there.
You do.
And you can take things for granted. And for you, it was some of the people. And I really like the way you talk about that side of it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think going from a student to getting into the airlines, I think that same water hose, that same snow globe effect that you have when you first start flight training, you kind of get that again when you start the airlines. And when I've talked to pilots, that's what they make it seem like. You start learning again.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting to is, what was my point?
Well, the snow globe thing.
Yes. What is it like adjusting to the airlines?
Right. Well, by the time you get to the airlines, because you don't always come from a training environment right to the airlines. Right. There's a lot of different snow globes.
Okay. Yeah.
With different Santa Clauses. Right. That you're going to have to learn to navigate.
Okay.
And so by the time you do get to the airlines, you've had charter jobs, you've had maybe a fractional ownership, you know, job you've had, or you've flown for one boss in a King Air for, you know, years and years. There's all kinds of snow globe stuff there.
Okay.
So by the time you get to the airlines, you're pretty good at navigating snowstorms, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the snowstorm you're in for is something you've never experienced.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different thing.
And I guess that's...
And just learning to fit in with the culture of being an airline pilot or a corporate pilot or a military pilot. When you're finally at that final step where you're going to spend the rest of your career, you don't just come in and you're the guy.
Right.
It's like the SEAL teams. You know, you may get through BUDS and you may be a SEAL, but that team's going to check you out, and you're not one of them until you can talk the lexicon. Until you know, it's the same way with being an airline pilot, but not as dangerous.
Yeah, maybe not as insane. That sounds crazy to me. I actually watch videos about that sometimes. I like the analogy though. Okay, well, the reason I wanted to mention starting in the airlines is because. Was there a point to where you felt like, oh, I'm finally a pilot, like I'm really a pilot? Or did that happen really early?
I kind of knew I was already a pilot, but I wanted to be that kind of pilot. You know?
Yeah.
I felt like my talent and how hard I tried to get there kind of deserved to be there, which is why it was my goal.
Okay. Kind of like you were saying earlier when you were trying to impress, like it's a type of accountability, right? Because what's the difference between when you feel like you belong there and when you don't? That kind of pilot that you're talking about. What's the difference from being there and not being there?
Wanting to be up there when you're here.
Okay, I see.
Right. So if you can see something up there, you're not in the right place right here.
A copy. I understand.
Yeah. If you're in the right place, being a corporate pilot or military pilot, or then you're good. Yeah. Because, right, there's nothing else you want. You're happy with that. And it's interesting because now I'm back into corporate aviation, And I came from corporate aviation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all the same stuff to learn, but it's different because the rules are different and this and that, and the culture is different. And I'm so happy to be back in that culture because
Mm-hmm.
that's where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I looked for something else besides
Yes.
that. A lot of people don't. They love
Right.
it.
And good.
They're in the
That's
right
good.
place. Right.
I heard someone say something, and I'm not going to say it correctly. Like desire is the sign.
Yes, that is a
Sometimes.
sign to move forward.
Yeah. If you have a bit of ambition, then that's enough
Right.
to go for it.
Yeah. I
Not
mean, if you're happy with where you are and you don't want to cross the glacier land bridge to go to Asia from Africa, you're happy there. And that's how we ended up in Asia and everywhere else because, you know, there was something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Human nature.
Okay. Well, that's nice. It kind of simplifies things a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. 2-year-old.
Yeah. You found the answer already.
Yeah.
You've been through some of those things. Okay. Do you have anything else to say about the athlete analogy, bringing it back there? Because I really like the idea of what it takes to be an athlete and how that applies to other jobs, especially like aviation.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll frame it a little differently. I'm not sure if you've worked other jobs really, but would you imagine that there is something about aviation that makes it more comparable to being an athlete than maybe something like a white collar job?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do, because it takes extreme determination to become a pro athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you get your private pilot's license, that's tough, but it's like being a high school athlete. You're really good at that high school and you know a lot, but you're not, you know, in college yet. So you go and you get your commercial license and your instrument rating.
Right.
And then now you're playing college ball, and that's great, but you're not a pro.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that sport that you were in high school, you've been able to carry into college, and you're good, a D1 school or whatever. That's awesome. Most people don't even get there.
Right.
But you're not a pro yet. So what it takes to become a pro,
extreme determination,
is the same discipline it takes a college athlete to be a pro. And I think it's a really good cross analogy.
I like that a lot too. And again, it's the mentality that goes into it, because if we're being frank, it's difficult. I think about it all the time when I talk to CFIs. They're in a position where they're building hours. Maybe they owe some money for their flight training.
Yeah.
And they're ready for they're eager for their job.
Yeah.
And the airlines are something that's going to say, hey, like, I made the right decision here. But sometimes when you're talking to them, they know they made the right decision and they're just in a difficult spot, but they're like, nothing's going to stop me. What would it have taken what would it have taken for you to not become a pilot? I mean, can you think of a scenario where you weren't a pilot?
It'd have to just be a health reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else for me.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried everything, engineering. I've tried all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of the pilots who don't fret the difficult things as much, that's something that they all have in common, is that, like, this is for me.
Right.
So.
And when you're bored and you feel stuck, you know, just like the college athlete, after practice, they're going to go work out, or they're going to, you know what I mean?
And
like
that's the real
Walter
discipline.
Payton used to run hill charges after practice, and Tiger Woods would go out and hit 200 balls after a tournament, you know, and before. So when you're stuck, use that time instead of being bored and feeling stuck to improve yourself, and maybe dig into a reg or a system or meteorology or something to that layer where you always feel like, this is a waste of time. I don't really need to know that. Well, maybe that downtime is for a reason. You can really go deep dive it.
Right.
And that's going to come out someday. That amount of knowledge will come out someday. And that's the kind of stuff it takes to become a pro. Right?
Yeah. And it's the deep diving part that I like. I've been using that word a lot. I think that the pilots that I talk to that seem the most knowledgeable are the ones who are like, oh, I don't know what that means. I should know what that means. Looks it up, or goes and researches it, or studies it. I think that's the difference. But I wanted to ask you about the word discipline. It sounds like you're talking a lot about discipline, but what do you think about the word discipline?
I know.
It can go so many ways.
It has a bad ring to it, doesn't it? Discipline.
I hate that word.
I mean, I'm going to discipline you. Yeah, not that kind of discipline. Discipline within yourself.
Right.
Like, I'm going to do this and this and this today, and I'm not even going to think otherwise. That's discipline, right?
It's used, even what you just said, it's used in so many ways. Like, I think about something like an obligation. When I hear the word discipline, it's something that I have to do, even though I don't want to do it, because I know I have to, or because it's for the better. Which I think does the word injustice. I think
I think
maybe it's a movie I watched about
yeah, I think it
samurais
does.
or something.
Yeah.
But I like to think about discipline lately as like as a
Yeah,
discipline,
come up
as a
with a better
technique.
word.
Yeah,
There's got to be a better word for it.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I reframed it for myself recently. I thought about it as like a technique, something to have. Like I have a discipline. It's not something
Oh,
to
okay.
be,
Yes,
but
it's
something
used
to.
that way too.
Yeah, I
What
like
is your
that way.
discipline? I'm a doctor. Or I'm a pilot. Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
That kind of
Yeah,
does something
yeah,
for me there
yeah,
personally. But I
yeah,
was wondering
yeah.
if you ever thought of it that way. So.
No, not really, but
Not
I do
really.
now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe next time we talk, we'll go
We'll
down that
deep
rabbit
dive
hole.
it.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm gonna look it up on ChatGPT later. We'll have a conversation. Do you use ChatGPT?
What's that?
Have you used ChatGPT much? AI
If I
stuff?
did, I would lie.
Okay.
I mean, if I did, I wouldn't tell you
Okay. Right.
because everyone will just think I'm a great writer.
Exactly. That's what a lot of people use it for. I've gotten into this thing where I kind of want to test it out, and so
Yeah,
I'll like talk to it a little bit.
yeah.
It's very interesting where you end up, though.
Well, when it comes back and says, "Hey, Zach, how you doing? How'd you sleep last night, Zach?"
Exactly. That's what I'm like. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
turn you off. So we talked a little bit about this before. Support systems, community. How important is that to you, and do you think that's important to most people in
I do,
aviation?
especially in aviation, because you feel very alone
Hmm.
because of it's just you and your instructor and you and your books. What I like about Thrust
Hmm.
is that they have study groups.
Hmm.
They do things together.
Hmm.
You may be bowling or going to a movie, but if
Right.
somebody's struggling with something, it's going to come up.
Right.
And you don't even have to ask the question. You can put your struggle in a certain way to where you're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 different opinions and you're going to choose a little something from each one. You can't get that by yourself or just
Absolutely.
one person,
Absolutely.
so it's really important. Support is really important.
Yeah.
It's important in your life too,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's. I think I don't know. I can speak for people I'm around. Maybe some of people in my generation and the next. But uh, part of the discipline thing that comes in is things you like succeed no matter what, right? No matter who you're around or what you're around, you should be able to overcome your environment. And I think that's all true. But at the same time, maybe we shouldn't underplay our environment or whether or not we have support. I think it's easy to feel like you should be able to do it all on your own.
Yeah,
It just doesn't sound. But I think the older I've gotten, it's not realistic. And also, you don't really do. No matter what, you're not really doing anything on your own.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
You're driving your car on your own. That's
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Is there some scenarios where you can look back and people have played important roles in your journey?
I think instructors,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're getting a check ride in the sim at the airline level or the corporate level,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in a G5 or an Airbus or whatever, your crew member there, you're used to using that crew member.
Right.
I'm not sure about this uh, approach. Am I looking at this the right way? No, no. You need to look at. You have that, but in a check ride in a simulator, they're not allowed to help.
Yeah.
You totally are on your own then.
Yeah.
And so now you're second guessing yourself because you've never had to second guess yourself because you've always had some resources.
Mm.
But now you're in a check ride and you're like, I'm hoping this. I think this is the right way to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. I'm curious if do you have any advice for someone who feels like they're kind of out here doing it on their own and they don't know who to go to and help for aviation, or maybe they feel like
I
they're
do.
plateauing in their training?
I do. Join the study groups, do the events that Thrust puts out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's multi-purpose that's out there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get out of your shell, get out of your car, come out of your house, and interact with people.
Let's say that
Because you'll forget about yourself when you interact with people. It's really easy to feel sorry for yourself when you're just thinking about yourself. But even just being around people will help you get off of yourself, and you'll just absorb things that you never would have heard.
Do you think you can successfully be an introvert in aviation?
An extroverted introvert.
Copy. That's
right?
I mean,
because most of us are
yeah,
extroverted introverts.
yeah,
Some are just pure introverts, and you can spot them a mile away.
that's true.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with people. I think it's just inevitable to see this as a when you're entering into a new world, one that's like a new snow globe, right? When you're entering into a whole new environment, you're not really you're not supposed to be alone. I don't think. I don't think that's how this industry is set up.
I agree.
Yeah, there's too much to know.
I don't think anything we're supposed to do alone.
It's about community. Yeah.
Family, friends,
And it's more and more like that these days. We think that, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, I say old enough, I'm not, so I'm 30.
Yeah.
And I remember being on MySpace in like 8th grade. And then going to Facebook and then Instagram and then Twitter. And it goes from social media to you know, something else like an algorithm. It's not quite social like it used to be. It's just like you're on the internet. And now, you know, I participate in a lot of community stuff online. But lately, I've been getting out of the house a little bit.
Good.
And I've been meeting some of the people that I used to be around in person. And I realize how much more there is to get out of it. And it's not cliche. I mean, maybe the cliche just makes more sense than it used to.
What's really interesting about that is that social media and screens are so captivating.
They are.
But still, even still after that, you just said it, you came out and you were around people.
And it's even more captivating.
And as much as captivating as screen time is and all of that, human nature wants to be around people.
Yeah, I thought.
And it overcame that. Screen time. It's really amazing. I agree with you.
Yeah, and
I'm glad that may be changing.
I think it is. I think everyone's feeling that way. I think everyone's like, you know, this isn't real. And I mean, it's important and it's helpful. And I do stay connected.
Very ingrained in our life.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I just think it's really interesting, especially in aviation. You kind of osmosis is how most. There we go. That's the word I've been looking for earlier. Don't you think that a large part of the learning is through osmosis in aviation? 100%. And that's not something you do through online, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Online's a one-way conversation.
Right.
This is a two-way conversation here. So, well, I wanted to ask about that. So that's very helpful. For people who aren't a part of a school like Thrust, maybe there's a little less resources offered. What can they do to be resourceful about you know, learning through osmosis if they don't feel like they're getting it where they're at? That you can think off the top of your head.
That's a really good question. All I can say is industry, not magazines, but online industry news.
Yeah.
You know, Airliner magazine online, obviously. I don't really know how you would find it without, you know.
Some people say like flying clubs and stuff like that.
I think that's a great example. Flying clubs can be fantastic. Aerobatic club, if you're interested in aerobatics.
I guess yeah, I guess it can be. Do you think the barrier to entry to learning aviation is like, what do you think about that? What does that look like? Is it a hard barrier to entry?
I think it is, because I think everyone thinks it's rocket science.
Yeah.
That you have to be really good at math. Well, I can tell you, I'm a pilot, and I'm not that great at math. So, but I think a lot of people are put off by it.
Yeah.
Just because of what they've seen in movies. You got to be a Top Gun person. You got to be an F-16 pilot. You got to be, you know, aerodynamic engineer or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to go all the way back to the fact that you feel like you might have found a home for some of the work you're going to be doing. And I don't know how far you are into that, or how much you can share, but can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yeah, it's a leading aviation training facility. They're worldwide. They've got, I think, 75 facilities all over the world.
Okay.
And they mostly train corporate pilots in very sophisticated simulators in all the corporate airplanes. And then they also teach helicopter training to military pilots.
Yeah.
So I'll be training, you know, corporate pilots coming in for recurrent or initial class for a new jet that they're going to fly. And I think to be able to give back and be an instructor again.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's how I started this full circle.
Yeah. In
corporate aviation, in a jet, in a simulator. So, and a lot of people who are there are retired airline pilots or retired corporate people, and they just want to be around pilots in aviation. And they, you know, the amount of experience we have when we retire is tremendous.
Exactly.
So to be able to go into a sim and there's certain profiles, each sim session has a different objective, but there's so many things, words of wisdom you can throw in because of your wisdom. It's like, hey, you know, you might want to try this or think about that. I never thought of that before. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's going to come from guys like us and gals like us and women like us. So I'm, and like I said, I'm going to be home at night. I have no desire to go, you know, be away.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy. I'm ecstatic.
And I think from talking to you, I can tell, because you know, you had yet to really talk about diving into something after
Right.
retiring.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, you weren't sure. I could tell you were like kind of looking for something, but it seems like something here really is attractive to you, and it's funny that it is instructing,
Yes.
and it still kind of comes down to people,
Yeah.
and I can see that being
I mean,
pretty
what a
fun.
cool job. I'm really thankful.
Yeah, you could say back to square one, almost in a way.
Yeah.
I-
Full circle,
yeah,
giving it back.
exactly, exactly. Is there
Instead
any
of instructing in that, I'm instructing.
exactly one of these Piper Archers? Okay, well, you'll have to come back out here when I'm sure we'll have you again. You seem
Yes, I
totally
hope
willing
so.
to, and you'll need some reasons to fly out now. It seems
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
um,
Or maybe somebody will come pick me up
yeah, exactly. Hey, maybe we'll get Patrick to
in
fly
a
out.
King Air.
Oh man, hey Patrick. No, that's perfect. I feel like there's stuff that we haven't touched. Is there anything that you
Whatever.
were kind of thinking about sharing that we haven't touched on yet? We touched
I
on some
think
good stuff.
I think the one thing that I'm going to add at the end of my presentation is
Yeah.
pilot mental health.
Yes, thank
I
you.
think that's really important.
Yeah.
It's been on the radar screen of aviation professionals for over a decade now,
Mhm.
and it was on American Airlines, screen when I was working in flight and safety for American Airlines, and it's been a topic that we need to deep dive. And
Yeah.
that is, being a pilot is, there's a lot of complexities that it adds to life. Life itself is pretty tough.
Yeah.
But the stresses that being a pilot puts on your life is tremendous.
I feel like you have to be very stoic as a pilot, in some ways, specifically because you need to be fit to fly a plane. Could you imagine some ways to balance some of that out? So, for example, are you able to talk about some of the stress that you're under with someone without it affecting your qualifications medically to fly a plane?
Yeah, I mean, your classmates. I'm still in touch with my classmates from 25 years ago. Your classmates at school, other pilots, because you tend to start hanging out with pilots when you learn to fly.
Yeah.
Your friends are going to be mostly pilots, so you can talk about stuff, and it'll never get outside of that, and it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a talk therapy kind of person for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I do this. I guess.
Yeah, and so it's important, and back on the mental health thing, it's important to talk about things and to talk things out, because you're exactly right. What you said, pilots are very stoic, they're very strong, they're very, they have no problems, they're just perfect, they can take on anything.
Right.
Well, they always can't. And so you need to talk to your instructor, talk to your wife, talk to your best friend, talk it out. Because you're going to spend holidays away. It's going to be hard on marriage. Money's not going to be great in the beginning. You're going to have lousy weather, broken down airplanes. You have all that on top of a normal life, and your normal life can go to hell.
Yeah.
So unless you have someone to talk to about, and I highly recommend working out. I mean, just work out. Work out. It's really important, and that'll keep your discipline peaked. Because you may not want to work out, you may not want to do the sit-ups, you may not want to go for a run, you may not want to go to the gym. Do it because you feel so much better. But that keeps you in the zone of compliance.
What is that? Is that a placebo thing, or is that
I don't know if it's an adrenaline thing. I just think for me, it just makes me feel like I'm on track. It keeps me on track. Find something that keeps you on track. Fly fishing, hunting, whatever it is. Try to find an outside interest to take your mind off of it. But mental health is really important, and I think that we all really need to be alert. And those of us who see someone struggling, don't be afraid to talk to them. Go up and say, "Hey, man, how you doing today? Everything good?" Not like you're a psychologist.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you sleep last night?
Yeah, they don't need to fix the problems.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? What have you been up to? And then that person's like, "Oh, they're paying attention to me. I must be worth something."
Yes, connection.
Right. So really
goes a long
important.
way. It goes a long way. Is there anything particular that you're going to bring up the conversation in the speech.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you think that you really want to say then that you might have the opportunity to say now?
No, I think I said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in both.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
both places.
Well, look, I think we've had a great conversation.
Yeah.
As
sorry
always.
to see it end.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I could sit here and talk all day, but I know that my editors will probably be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, it's a 2 hour. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to break this up into episodes.
And I realize, I think with you and I think the more we've talked, the more we need to talk
Right.
to
I
kind
agree.
of get into a deep dive. And so I think every time we talk, I want to talk even longer.
Right.
I want to go further, but I always feel like I have to keep it moving. So that being said, I appreciate you for coming and sitting in with a little bit of this heat out here
That's
in
okay.
Arizona.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, I'm
Being
excited
a
to see how
Vegas
it
boy,
goes.
I'm used to it.
Yeah. Oh,
This is nothing.
Do you think your son's gonna come out here at any point? Is he still training, or is he going to CFI
He's still
yet?
in training. He's in his CFII right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know, he's got a long career ahead of him.
Yeah. He's out here with Thrust for the listeners and viewers who don't know. So you looked into all these schools and you thought Thrust was actually an option.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about too. But you're going to get in trouble by the office. But I did my homework.
Yeah, exactly. You did your homework. That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining in on this episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. And thanks again, Philip, for joining us.
You're very welcome.
If we have you out again, I'm excited to see where it goes. If you guys are still listening, then it's probably because you enjoyed the episode, which means you definitely should be subscribing or at least rating our podcast episode. It does a lot and helps more people who are interested in aviation find out about us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.